Imagine walking into your favorite fast food joint and discovering that the person behind the recent string of robberies didn't come through the door, but through the roof. Sounds like something out of a movie, right? Well, for Jeffrey Manchester, this was real life. Known as the infamous Roofman, Jeffrey became a criminal legend, not just because of his crimes, but because of the bizarre, almost whimsical way he carried them out. Roofman 2025, the latest true crime-inspired film, takes this story and turns it into something unexpectedly human. Instead of just showing a criminal, it explores the man behind the mask, the mind that turned rooftops into secret entrances, and the peculiar charm that left victims oddly fond of him. Jeffrey's method was ingenious in its simplicity. McDonald's restaurants, with their flat roofs and seldom locked skylights, became his playground. While most criminals stick to doors or back entrances, Jeffrey looked up. Literally, he climbed ladders, broke through the ceiling, and emerged inside the restaurant as if he'd been there all along. Employees would walk in to find him calmly helping himself to the cash register. Oddly, many victims later described him as polite, almost courteous, a gentleman thief in the truest sense. This strange mix of charm and criminality is exactly what Roofman captures, showing audiences a man who was as clever as he was audacious. The film doesn't shy away from the moral gray areas of Jeffrey's life. Unlike conventional true crime stories that paint criminals in stark black and white terms, Roofman invites viewers to wrestle with complexity. Here's a man committing crimes, yes, but also exhibiting human. Interviews with real-life victims included in the narrative reveal a fascinating phenomenon. Some of those affected by his robberies actually admired his ingenuity. They were frustrated, sure, but they also couldn't help marveling at how someone could turn something as mundane as a fast food restaurant into the stage for such theatrical heists. Of course, the law eventually caught up with Jeffrey. After a series of meticulously planned robberies, he was apprehended and sent to prison. But anyone who's familiar with the Roofman legend knows that this was far from the end of his story. Prison didn't break his spirit. It only gave him new ideas. The film dives into his escape, which reads more like a thriller than a biography. Using the same cleverness he had displayed in his McDonald's heists, Jeffrey orchestrates a daring break from custody, leaving authorities scrambling and fans on the edge of their seats. Roofman captures this sequence with nail-biting tension, showing just how resourceful he truly was. Once on the run, Jeffrey did something that no one could have predicted. He hid in plain sight, not in an abandoned warehouse or a cabin in the woods, but inside a Toys R Us store. For months, he lived undetected among the shelves, mannequins, and oversized toys, moving silently through the aisles while the world outside continued as usual. It's hard to imagine how anyone could survive this kind of life, yet Roofman portrays it with surprising humanity. The audience experiences the isolation, ingenuity, and sheer audacity required to pull off such a stunt, all while questioning the line between criminal genius and obsessive recklessness. What makes Roofman particularly captivating is its focus on character. Jeffrey is not just a thief. He's a thinker, a planner, someone whose mind operates differently from the rest of us. The film doesn't glorify his actions, but it does invite empathy. Scenes inside Toys R Us highlight moments of solitude, reflection, and even remorse. We see him interacting with the mannequins and toys almost like companions, filling the emptiness with his imagination. These moments blur the line between clever criminal and isolated human being, forcing viewers to grapple with the ethical contradictions at the heart of the story. The cinematography and pacing of Roofman reinforce this tension. Rooftops are shot from dizzying angles. Interiors are claustrophobic, yet oddly playful, and each robbery sequence feels like a carefully choreographed dance. The filmmakers use these visuals to make the audience feel both exhilarated and uneasy, mirroring the duality of Jeffrey's life. It's not just about the heists themselves. It's about perspective, how he saw the world from above, through skylights and gaps, always calculating the next move. By the time we see him hiding among aisles of toys, that same tension translates into a mix of suspense and almost absurd humor. Critics have praised Roofman for its moral complexity. Unlike traditional true crime films that rely heavily on judgment and condemnation, this movie explores why we are fascinated by criminals criminals who defy the odds in unusual ways. Jeffrey's story is compelling because it combines skill, creativity, and a touch of eccentricity. Audiences are forced to ask themselves uncomfortable questions. Can someone be admirable and wrong at the same time? Is cleverness enough to inspire empathy even when it's paired with crime? Roofman doesn't give easy answers, which is why it resonates beyond the surface-level thrills of heists and escapes. As the story unfolds, Roofman builds toward a climax that is both tense and thought-provoking. Authorities close in. The Toys R Us hideout becomes increasingly precarious, and Jeffrey's ingenuity is pushed to its limits. Every decision he makes could be his last, yet he navigates each obstacle with the same quiet cunning that made him famous. By the final scenes, viewers are left contemplating not just his fate, but the nature of creativity, audacity, and the unexpected ways human beings respond to constraints. Roofman captures that essence, reminding us that true crime can be more than sensational headlines. It can also be a lens into the extraordinary possibilities of human behavior. In the end, Roofman 2025 is more than a retelling of a criminal's exploits. It's an exploration of moral ambiguity, ingenuity, and the human capacity for both cleverness and recklessness. Jeffrey Manchester's story fascinates because it defies conventional narratives, blending empathy and suspense, humor and danger. Whether you watch it for the heists, the escapes, or the strange charm of its protagonist, the film leaves an impression that lingers long after the credits roll. So next time you walk into a McDonald's or a toy store, glance up, because you never know what's possible when someone decides to think outside the door or the roof.